Hey guys, in today's video I'm doing the first video in my Halloween series all about liquid latex, so keep on watching. Starting with some cons, do not put latex in your hair. You can use a little bit of Vaseline around your hairline and on your brows to protect them, but don't put it directly in your hair. Next, latex allergies are very common, so if it's your first time, do a quick patch test on the inside of your wrist and check for burning, itching, redness, etc. Also, latex does not come out of your clothes just like it does not come out of your hair, so don't even try to put it in that. But what it also doesn't come out of is your brushes and tools, so you want to use anything that's disposable. You can use Q-tips, are great for putting them in a smaller area. You can use latex sponges, obviously, because they're disposable and easy to throw away, and you can use other different types of sponges. Now to the latex that I use. I use, honestly, the cheapest latex I can find on Amazon, if I'm being honest. So this is the one I've gotten a couple times. I like it. I believe it's the brand Fun World, and I get it for maybe $12, and it is a big bottle, 16 fluid ounces. Now to some different ways to use latex. I'm going to be showing you guys 3 simple ways to make different prosthetics. All 3 of these ways can be used straight on the face, but it was just easier for me to show you on a counter. Basically, this is just my table. So the first method is mixing a latex paste using regular white baking flour and liquid latex. You want to make it a pretty thick paste, and then you can mold it on whatever surface you choose. You can use like a ceramic plate, you can use like a pan, you can use some type of palette, you can use anything. I'm just using my makeup table because it is something that has a coating over it, so the latex will not affect it. But I'm just using the latex paste. You want to mold it. You can blend out the edges as good as you can. You want to dip your finger and any tools you're using into pure liquid latex. This way they glide in the prosthetic easier, and especially smoothing out with your finger, having latex on it will just help it get a smoother finish and smooth out any bumps of the latex paste. Now, the second method of prosthetics is using non-drying oil-based clay. This stuff is oil-based, so it will not dry, and it stays really soft, so you can mold it easily, and it never dries out. So you want to use a little bit, and you can create any type of wound. Here, once again, is just a basic cut, and you just blend out the stuff as good as you can. You can even use a bit of water, which will help smooth out the clay. And then, once you're done, pretty much with all of that, you want to take a paper towel and try to soak up any excess water that you possibly can, just to help the latex better adhere. Then you can go in with your tools, do any fine detailing. Your mold is completely done. It's time to layer your liquid latex. Now this is where these little latex sponges come in really good handy. You want to start with a pretty thin layer just to add a nice thin layer on the entire thing, and then you can begin to build it up and create thicker layers, and in between you can dry it down. Now to the next method is using cotton and latex. Now this one is definitely one where it's more recommended to do straight onto the face, but because I am showing you guys just for an example, I'm going to be showing you the same way you do this on your face. So you want to lay a bit of latex down on your face or your surface, use a little bit of cotton. You can also do similar things with like tissue paper, toilet paper, whatever the thing you'd like to use, and you can just simply create a mold like that and soak the cotton. Now with everything, you're going to continue to layer. Obviously in the middle prosthetic with the clay, you're going to want to do a couple layers, but other than that, everything's pretty much ready, so you just dry it down. I use a blow dryer, otherwise you can let it dry overnight. You can pretty much tell when it's done based on the looks and the feel. So as you can tell, the latex does dry down pretty yellow when it has thicker layers. Otherwise, it's pretty translucent with thinner layers. Once they're all dry, it's ready to remove, so I'm using more baking flour, just regular like kitchen flour like we used before. You can use translucent powder or any type of powder really, but honestly flour is cheap and you can just use it, so I like to dust a pretty good layer around all of the prosthetics, and then I remove all of the flour, and then you're going to use the excess flour that I kind of sweeped up in a little pile, and as you remove your prosthetic, you just want to begin peeling it back from one edge and use your flour as you go, and using your brush to help push the edges and just help remove it, and you can even pull it with your fingers, and you want to keep your flour on all of the prosthetic edges, because otherwise the edges will fold and stick to themselves, and then you won't have nice edges. So as long as you do this, they'll come out nice. Now that we're done with the preparation, I'm going to show you guys a couple of different ways to use latex that aren't just for your basic like cuts and wounds. So the first one is an old age stipple. This is a pretty simple technique. You just want to use a sponge or a Q-tip and apply very thin layers as you stretch the skin, and then blow dry it while your skin is being stretched. That way when it's dry and you let go, the skin crinkles up and it just enhances the natural wrinkles in your skin, I guess, and it just creates even more wrinkles with the latex. Another way to use liquid latex is with simple burns and like rotting skin type of wounds, I guess. You can do both the same way. It kind of depends on your paint job, but basically you're going to apply a layer of liquid latex. I did about 2 layers. Make sure it's pretty dry, and then you can go in with a little spatula and you just gently start scraping away at the latex, and this is where you can really tell how the simple burns and rotting skin might start to look. So depending on your paint job, you can turn it into a burn or into actual rotting skin. Now I'm going to show you guys how to apply the latex prosthetics. So it's pretty simple. You want to apply a little bit of latex on the back of the prosthetic and then stick it down, using more latex with a Q-tip just around all the edges, and I even build up a couple layers of latex around the edges just to help blend them out. This is not the most realistic. This is just a very basic way to use and do prosthetics. It's not going to give you the most realistic look, but it will get the job done. So you don't want to worry about your edges too much, and they can also be fixed through your painting job. Then once that's all done, you want to dry it up and set it with more flour. I actually think when I put it on my face, I believe I use an actual face powder and not flour, but you can really use either. You want to set it down and remove all the shine on the latex, and it'll just help it from sticking everywhere. This is also another way to do a cut straight onto your face, is just by applying a couple layers of latex and then start picking at it, and you can use little scissors, tweezers, whatever, just to create a little cut in the center. This will be a very thin cut. Now, when it comes to painting, you have pretty much 2 options. You have alcohol activated paints and you have cream paints. Now, I'll show you guys in a second how to use them, but I'm just applying a layer of foundation just to kind of cancel out some of the yellowness on some of the on some of the prosthetics, and then it'll help your coloring out a little bit more better. So I'm using some cream paints here, and cream paints are good for almost anything when it comes to latex. I'll show you in a second me trying to use alcohol activated paints, but it really just doesn't work. Cream paints is truly the best way to go because cream paints will adhere to the latex very easily and they're nice and pigmented. When it comes to the alcohol or water activated paints, they're not going to stick to the latex well just because of what they're made of, and versus the latex, it's just not really going to work. Lastly, to top your wounds off with some fake blood, I'm going to link a bunch of different kinds that I really like in the description box below, but I like to use thicker bloods on the inside of the wounds. This is just going to add texture since our prosthetics aren't very detailed. It's really nice to add thicker blood just to make it look a little bit more realistic and not so flat. So I use different types of coagulated and fresh scab bloods from both Maron and Ben Nye, and these just add a really good effect, especially in like the burns. And then you want to add a little bit of liquid blood. This is Ben Nye dark blood. It's my favorite blood for runny bloods because it looks the most realistic compared to like cheaper bloods that really look kind of like orange and just bright red. So this one is a darker blood, which just looks the best. And you can even use a paper towel, dab it around, just any different ways to paint your prosthetic and bloody it up. Lastly, how to safely remove your prosthetics. You can honestly use this method for most special effects things, but I like to use a makeup wipe to begin, and I just remove the excess paints and blood that's on the top of the surface, and then I go in with isopropyl myricate, which is a skin-safe special effects remover. I find it on Amazon. It's not the cheapest thing, but just a little bottle of it isn't too bad if you want to professionally and properly remove it without harming your skin. You can take a little bit out on a Q-tip and just slowly work this underneath your prosthetic and all around the edges, and it'll just help it kind of glide off very easily without having to tug at the skin. This is the best, most professional way to do it. If you want to, I would definitely not suggest doing this on a client, and if your skin is not very sensitive, depending on like how you're removing it and what you're removing it, it might not be that bad just to kind of like peel it off. I mean, this isn't the most professional, proper way to do it, but it's definitely possible. The isopropyl mirror state definitely helps when removing latex from different hairs, especially around the hairline and on your eyebrows. And then I just go back in one more time with a makeup wipe. This is going to help get any extra little layers and little specks of latex that are kind of just floating around. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like this video with a thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys think, as well as subscribe to become a beauty and be a part of our beautiful world. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!